Hello, everyone. I have an amazing story for you today. I'm going to tell you the amazing story of Marilyn Monroe, born Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1, 1926, in Los Angeles, California, became one of the most famous actresses and cultural icons of the 20th century. Here is an overview of her life and career. Get ready to discover her life and what makes her defining figure in cinematic history, and how she died. Hollywood, its studios, its legend, its glitter and glamour. In the 1960s, you could encounter Marlon Brando, Cary Grant, or Marlene Dietrich there. Names that have forever marked the history of cinema. But perhaps behind the glamour and the spotlight, the most mysterious adventures unfolded. Admit it, it's quite flattering. Here's a nickname that evokes luxury and sophistication. By the way, do you know who said that diamonds are a girl's best friend? Well, it was an icon of glamour, a true sex symbol known worldwide. Her image is iconic but also fascinating due to her scandals, conquests, addictions, and especially her sudden death, which remains unexplained to this day. Today, all the ingredients of a good thriller are present in our story. A luxury house in Los Angeles, a movie star at the height of her fame, political plots and controversial loves, all forming one of Hollywood's best-kept secrets. Indeed, the life and death of this immense actress sparked various controversies. There's no need to introduce Marilyn Monroe, the most famous actress of the 1950s. She starred in some of the greatest films of the era, but is best known for her famous blonde hairstyle, her doe eyes, her multiple lovers, and her iconic scene in a white dress in the film The 7-Year Itch. It is also acknowledged that she suffered from severe psychiatric problems and a strong addiction to medications, which likely cost her life one August evening in 1962. At first glance, everything points to suicide. But why would a woman for whom everything seemed to be going well take her own life? Depression, you know. Yes, but some clues don't fit with the suicide theory. So, was it an accident? Or perhaps certain powerful people had an interest in silencing an actress who had drawn too much attention? I don't know, for example, a certain president of the United States with whom she allegedly had an affair. I'm just saying, it's shameful. And speaking of conspiracy, I am very proud to announce that you are finishing my first novel. Not just any novel, an augmented novel. For those who remember, I had already planned to write a novel for years, and some people haven't lost hope, and you are right. And now, I'm nearing the end. It will be released soon. I talked about it in my video about the 10-year anniversary of the channel, which you can find here. And in this novel, just to tease a bit, there will be plenty of conspiracies, a very mysterious universe, characters always driven by the best intentions. Wait, I won't say more. Let's leave some suspense. Yeah, you're right. We'll come back to it soon anyway. And now, we can resume the video. So, you'll have understood that today we will mix charm, cinema, tragedy, and conspiracies. And by gathering the elements at our disposal, we will try to understand who really killed Marilyn Monroe. You've probably already seen a photo of Marilyn on a poster, a postcard, or in magazines. Personally, I have a Marilyn mug just below my Che poster and my collection of Kurt Cobain t-shirts. Yeah, well, so Marilyn is one of those timeless personalities whose image is everywhere, and yet you might still not know her story well. So, let's go back to the year 1926, when the young Norma Jean Mortensen was born in Los Angeles. Her childhood was not very joyful, as she never knew her father, and her mother suffered from psychological issues that prevented her from taking proper care of her daughter. The young Norma Jean grew up in several foster families where she suffered various sexual abuses, An arranged marriage took place when she was 16. She then worked in a factory and was spotted by photographers for military campaigns. She then started modeling and appeared on several pin-up covers, but she was still far from the movie sets. Indeed, but that wouldn't last long. In 1945, she filmed her first commercial and realized she was meant to act. She then divorced her first husband because it was said that a married actress had little chance of becoming a star. Obviously, she had to represent a fantasy for men, and the woman had to be nothing more than a simple object of sexual desire. Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And if she was already settled, well, it might turn fewer heads. So she took acting classes, dyed her hair blonde, signed a contract with Fox, and changed her name to Marilyn Monroe. But she still had to wait until the 1950s to truly meet success with films that became cult classics, where Marilyn shone on the screen. There you go. For example, we have Some Like It Hot, which earned her a Golden Globe, and The 7-Year Itch. Oh, I know that one. It's the one with the famous scene of the white dress over the subway grate. Or also, well, gentlemen prefer blondes. Unfortunately, even though she was a sensation and became a recognized actress, she remained frustrated by her image and haunted by her traumas. Marilyn felt that she was only offered roles of dumb or superficial women, which saddened her greatly. She was indeed a literate, cultured, and intelligent woman who had studied art and literature and who proved to be remarkably complex. Nevertheless, her mental health declined sharply, and gradually, her stays in psychiatric hospitals for depression and her addiction to medications deeply disrupted her career and reputation. So, despite her flourishing career, her life was far from a smooth journey. We are now on the evening of August 4, 1962, in a beautiful villa in Brentwood, a reputable neighborhood of Los Angeles. Marilyn had returned from a walk on the beach with a friend. She spent the evening at home. It had been some time now since she found it difficult to work. She was disturbed and depressed, and in fact, she forgot her lines on set and was very nervous and completely dependent on sleeping pills, painkillers, and even alcohol. That said, she was about to remarry her second husband, Joe DiMaggio, even though she was rumored to have an affair with a certain John Kennedy. Wait, John Kennedy, the President of the United States? Absolutely. Yes, JFK, by the way. Well, a few weeks earlier, she was drunk and sang him a happy birthday that would be talked about a lot. So, very quickly, we discover gray areas in the unfolding of this last evening, and the theory of murder makes its way into everyone's minds. So, who could have killed Marilyn, and why? You remember that I already told you about a liaison between her and dear John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Well, some claimed that she had gathered important information about the Kennedy family, which she kept in a certain red notebook. In fact, generally speaking, Marilyn could have held state secrets and threatened to reveal her affair publicly. It is said that she herself called Jackie Kennedy, that is, John's wife, to talk to her about it. In short, if she saw herself as the First Lady, we see what could have pushed more than one to silence her. Okay, but who exactly? Not JFK himself, no. But perhaps his brother Bobby, to whom some also attribute an affair with Marilyn, or even the CIA, the FBI, or the Mafia. Ah, yes, that's still a lot of suspects. But there you have it. Around Marilyn Monroe's death, almost everything has been imagined about her, and what is certain is that some elements make the investigators doubt. To begin with, the body found was lying down, whereas the classic position of a death by overdose is rather curled up. Moreover, almost 4 hours passed between the discovery of the body by Dr. Greenson and the arrival of the police. What happened? And why did they wait so long before notifying the authorities? We can also add that the room seemed to have been cleaned just before their arrival,
and that the amount of medication ingested was so high that it could have killed 10 people, which seems to rule out an accidental self-medication. Finally, the analyses of the organs, such as the liver, kidneys, and stomach, were not made public, which suggests that the brutal name that killed her could very well have been injected, as nothing proves that she actually did it.
So, a long list of questions. Well, her friend, Peter Lawford, also pointed out that she had no suicidal thoughts. Her condition was stable. She was thinking of reviving her career and getting remarried. But the Kennedy conspiracy is not the only one surrounding Marilyn's death. And so we are talking about the conspiracy between Kennedy and Marilyn, not about Kennedy's death, which is another story. The probable suicide thesis will certainly remain the official thesis as long as there is no further evidence. In any case, her death remains a mystery that fuels passions and makes headlines every year on the anniversary of her death. And perhaps one day, on their deathbed, one of the still living protagonists will reveal information that will allow us to understand what happened. Well, I would say, there's nothing left to lose, I'll drop the thing. So was Marilyn Monroe's death due to a medical error covered up by a clumsy doctor, a crime of passion, or a state assassination, or simply the psychological torment and unbearable pressure for an adored woman who felt desperately alone? Well, there you go. I hope this topic interested you. If you also have theories, feel free to share them in the comments. In fact, my theory is that she didn't die, and that she is on an island with Michael Jackson. There are also guides on your island, yeah, also with Coluche, Elvis, Johnny, even Avril Lavigne. Oh yeah, still. Imagine the crazy conversations they must have on Wayne, I admit. I'm going to go. Thank you for being part of this journey. I hope you learned. See you next time for another story. And if you want a story of a famous person that you like, don't hesitate to write to me in the comments.